Hello, my name is Maia Mayor, and this is Get Lit Globe, where we interview artists from around the world via webcam. Today we are with our first guest, who I am very excited to introduce, Yoko Tamada. She has been with Get Lit for a few years now. Yoko, how are you?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm really glad to be here. How are you?
I am great as well. Thank you for asking. So I just wanted to start asking where you got into poetry in the first place and how you came to find Get Lit.
Came into poetry in middle school when Get Lit did their performance. And I
Okay.
got involved with Get Lit starting with their summer camps.
Wow, okay, so you did one of their like intensive programs during the summer? I'm not super familiar with that, but
Yeah, I did their 2-week summer camp intensive.
okay, cool. I did not even know they offered that. Yoko, I have a question for you. Is there any one performance that sticks out in your mind as being the best that you've ever done? And if so, why?
My best performance would have to be when Get Lit had a little night in, and it was just friends. I called it a family because we're just so close. And we were just sharing poetry for the fun of it. And I got up there and I feel like I did my best performance ever. I was so emotionally available and I was so present, especially because of the environment that I was in.
So, do you think it was the fact that you had such a supportive community surrounding you that made you able to come out of
I
your
just,
shell? If so, yeah. So, Yoko, I do want to ask you, in the age of quick poetry, I don't know if that's a term for it, but instant gratification, Instagram, where everything happens very quickly. There are poets like Rupi Kaur, right, who people consider to be accessible to a wider audience. Um, do you have an opinion about that new style of poetry when it comes down to like the short 2 sentence sort of things that are, you know, churned out for social media? Or
I do have an opinion about that.
I would
I
love to hear it.
personally hope I don't get attacked or offend anyone. I personally don't like that style of poetry.
Hmm.
I I just find it so annoying where there's like two words in each line.
So, on that note, do you have favorite poets who you would like to see exposed to a wider audience more often?
Ooh, Chen Chen and Human Wen. These are queer Asian poets that I adore, and their writing is amazing. And I feel like they should be more well known to the public because of the way that they write, the images that they use, the things that they talk about that aren't that many poets don't really write about.
Which is what? Is it their honesty in particular, or what makes them so
I do believe
unique?
their honesty, but also the way they talk about culture and how poetry isn't really this thing for them. For them, it's life saving, where they talk about these experiences that they had and they went through, but they survived it.
That's amazing. And those are poets who I definitely should look up. So please send me a link at the end of this, as we talked about before. But I also, it reminds me of another question I had. But when it comes to, there's this really strong theme and idea of activism being associated with spoken word poetry. I'm curious about what your thoughts on that and whether or not you think you have this obligation to send a certain message when you're performing, or whether you think it's kind of bullshit, or how you feel about that association and what it's meant for you.
Okay, well, regarding activism and poetry, because I feel like poetry is an outlet to express like myself and others because that's how I was introduced to in poetry. I wasn't really introduced to it through that lens that everything you write needs to be about politics or needs to be super important. So I feel like there needs to be a line drawn for poetry that is for yourself, and then poetry that is also for yourself, but for like to educate others or like to help others.
And also on that note, while that I fully agree with, I am super interested and I admire the fact that you did this one poem, which I stalked on your Instagram, about gun control having to do with the March for Our Lives event. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and how that came to be and what your involvement was?
That poem, I am so grateful that I got to do it because speaking from the youth perspective of being exposed to gun violence in the communities, it um, that for me is the side of poetry and activism where you're helping people and you're getting educated yourself in this process and also educating others. So that was an experience to be able to film the video, know where it's going to be shown, which was in Washington D.C., opening for Demi Lovato, and then going to the march weeks later. It was such an amazing experience to be enveloped by all these people who were like, yes, we need youth to rise up.
That's insane. How did that poem first come about? I mean, did you write it after you had already talked to these people, or was it inspired by the initial horrific event that had happened in Parkland? Or
I think with that, it was with all the events that was happening around the US and globally, they were like, we need these young, passionate poets and writers. We need to hand them the torch. We need to give them a microphone, let them speak what they need to say. And so we kind of collaborated with them. We like went back and forth, and it's like, and then finally it was the video where it's like, this is what we're trying to say.
that's awesome. Oh my gosh, I so wish I was there to see you knock that out of the park. One of my other questions that I have for everyone in America when it comes down to it. So I know you were telling me about the school you go to, you only attend twice a week, right? It's a normal high school, but you only go twice a week. Do you think that has been beneficial or detrimental towards your life and your education? And that leads into my next question. Why do you think other students would benefit from that sort of new school scheduling, etc.?
Oh, I love my school that I go to and just the way it works where I do go twice a week
Right. Which is
for
what,
an
San
hour and a
Gabriel?
half each day.
Alhambra?
Huh?
Yeah, Alhambra, San Gabriel.
I go to a charter school
What's it called?
in San Gabriel. It's called Options for Youth.
Options for You, shout out. Okay. Oh my gosh, I went there too. So, okay. But only for 2 months. Anyways,
Oh.
continue. So I don't really know.
So I go to that school currently, and I love it so much. I have so much time I just have so much time. It was really weird making that transition. Before I would go to school like 5 days a week, like 6 hours each day, and then do homework for like 5 hours. And then in this new school, you go at your own pace. So I do a little extra so I can like, graduate earlier, maybe have a little less homework in the next couple weeks. And it's just an amazing system. And I feel like a lot of students don't know about these types of schools, and they would benefit so much because it's less stress, more support from teachers and parents and peers because everyone there wants to learn. Everyone there wants to learn, and in most public, like regular high schools, everyone's just there because they need education to get a job. But at these alternative schools, at these alternative options, it's a place where the student thrives in for sure.
Right. And maybe we wouldn't be so far towards the bottom of education when it comes to the entire world's ranking. Anyways, what do you wish that people knew more about you? I'm curious.
Oh, that's a really tough question.
I
I
would love to.
feel like I don't allow others to know where I came from, I guess, which is like I'm I'm the daughter of immigrants and I'm a queer individual and um like growing up in a town where it was predominantly white, and so I feel like I don't give myself credit for being so different and going into these spaces constantly feeling different, even if am with people who are very similar to me.
Right. But since you've started doing poetry, I mean, is your background and your diversity something that you embrace and talk about in your poetry, or not so much?
I do talk about it in my poetry, but I feel like there's so many things that I can still write about myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not chained down to any one topic, right? What do you think is the one thing you write about the most, and why would that be, whether it's personal or otherwise? And for anybody watching this video, what's one piece of advice you could give to somebody who's trying to start out in doing spoken word poetry or writing in general, but doesn't really know where or how to start?
Mm. Ooh.
No pressure.
What was the first part of that question?
What's something you write about the most, and why do you think that is?
I feel like I write about growth the most because it's just like I constantly want to improve, and I sometimes forget about how much I'm growing, and so to be able to like every day, what I do essentially, this is like part of the next question, sort of.
Sure.
I push myself to write something, whether it be like a journal entry or a poem or an affirmation. I just write something at the end of the day, and I just reflect on who I am, what I'm doing, and where I want to be and where I am going. And so that for me is just growth, because everything that I am doing or everything that we do, we're doing there's always some good intention in it, whether it be like for us to get better or to learn something or to improve the environment in the world. And so for poets starting off, I feel like the best advice is to keep writing and push yourself every day to just write something for yourself, and that can be anything, poetry, thoughts, affirmations. And then for spoken word artists who are already getting into writing and have done this for years, I think hitting the stage and letting your voice be heard more would be an amazing, great thing, because then you're just known by so many people and you open up your heart to these amazing individuals that you can meet and potentially like have a relationship or be like business partners.
Definitely. No, definitely. Hit up open mics, hit up any resource you have. Hit up actually Get Lit, because we do have open Saturday classes every weekend. And on that note, thank you so much, Yoko. It was amazing talking to you. Hey there. I see you're at the end of this video, so if you liked it, please hit the like button below. Subscribe to our channel, we'd really appreciate it. We're also really excited to announce we're starting our Patreon page, so if you want to support us, want to donate towards what we're doing, we'd be really excited about that. We're excited to bring you new content, coming out with videos every month, so please support us, and we will see you soon.